Hey, what's up, everybody? Layak here. Welcome to another episode of the Hammer Drops. Today, we are going to talk about these pro-Palestinian protests that are going on. I'm going to tell you today who's funding them. And, hopefully that might open people's eyes a little bit more on what's really going on. We're going to talk also about how the Democrats unanimously voted to give illegals representation in Congress. We're also going to talk about, and then what the Republicans also did to combat this situation. I'm also going to go through a little list here about some, a list that I found on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, about the kickback that politicians are getting from Ukraine. Apparently, a Ukrainian official released a list of politicians and the amount of money that they're getting. So why don't we just dive in, right? So, all right. So let's start off. Your pro-Palestinian protests that are going on right now. If you think back to 2020, all right, let's do see where we're at, and I want you to see what happened in 2020. I'm going to refresh your memory here. What happened in 2020 and what's going on now. So back in 2020, just before, that election cycle really started, along comes COVID. So, they have COVID. They lock everybody down to bring in and usher in the mail-in ballots, right? And lo and behold, now they're trying to push COVID again because nothing else is working, along with, now our the 2020 version, or I should say the 2024 version of the 2020 BLM protests and riots is now in the form of pro-Palestinian protests that will eventually turn into riots. And I fear, and I think what's going to end up happening, it's going to be a lot like 2020, the summer 2020, when we had cities in Oregon, Wisconsin, all over the United States burning because these fucking jackasses. And lo and behold, the same people that funded that are funding this again. And people in Illinois that are listening, and I truly hope that I have some Democrats or some liberals listening to this show. And if they're not, and if you know somebody that is a liberal or Democrat that believe that Joe Biden and the Democrat Party are doing good, you need to share this episode with them. Okay? Because I don't know about you, I'm getting kind of sick of this shit. You have the Democrats funding these protests right now. And you might be sitting back like, no, they're not doing that. Well, the people that fund the Democrats are funding these protests, just like in 2020. According to Politico, pro-Palestinian protesters are backed by a surprising source, Biden's biggest donors. Go figure. I mean, you already know Joe Biden is behind everything that's going on with Trump right now. Trump being in court and not on the campaign trail during an election time. It's all part of their plan because they know they can't beat Trump. So now they're trying to use the same blueprint that they used in 2020, again in 2024. This time a little bit different. They have Trump in court with these bogus charges, fining him obscene amount of money, and these judges, like the New York judge right now in this Stormy Daniels thing, his daughter does work for the Democratic Party, gets paid by the Democratic Party. He himself is a Democrat. Alvin Bragg, who should be doing his job and taking criminals off the street in New York, doesn't do that. He just sits in the courtroom with the whole Trump thing, doesn't give a shit about anything else, all the murders that are going on, robberies, the illegals there, doesn't care, because all these guys, when they were campaigning, said that they were going to bring down Trump. And they're doing that with Biden's help, by weaponizing the DOJ, by pretty much all of American, if most Americans are losing faith in the judicial system. If you look around, I mean, before we get into this pro-Palestinian thing, if you look around all over America, look at these, people being arrested, let's take Illinois, for example. I mean, You have people literally being arrested for, watching child porn while they're being arrested, and the judge lets them out. Lets them out of jail. Because we have the Safety Act from good old Governor Pritzker and the Democrats of Illinois to be light on crime. It's just like a slap on the wrist. You got people being arrested for drug trafficking, fentanyl, in Illinois. They sit in jail for about 2 weeks and boom, they're back out on the street to continue doing what they were doing. It's not only happening here, it's happening in New York, California, Pennsylvania. And if you notice anything, it's all Democrat-run states, counties, cities that are doing this. Illinois is just the next state to do it because, well, California's doing it. So whatever California usually does, Illinois is sure to follow. But I'm hoping with this episode, it may wake those people that voted for Pritzker the fuck up to make them realize they voted absolutely for the wrong guy. And the funny thing is, I hear people say, and I know I'm kind of going off topic here, but I hear people say, that these Democrats and liberals are all pro-union, this, that, and the other. And I said this before in other episodes. Folks, they're not pro-union. They're pro-union bosses because the union bosses are going to get the union guys or do the due diligence to get the union guys, their union workforce, to vote for Democrats with lies and deceit. And I speak from experience, folks. Like I said in the previous episode, I was on the gas pipeline in Chicago, replacing, gas mains and services to a much safer and a, more cost-effective way. And, well, the green agenda comes through and, well, lo and behold, hundreds, if not thousands of union workers are now out of a job because of the Democrats. Yeah, go figure. But don't take my word for it. Look it up. So with that said, let's, I hope this will wake people up a little bit. So these pro-Palestinian protests are being backed by Biden's biggest donors. So President Joe Biden has been dogged for months by pro-Palestinian protesters, calling him Genocide Joe. And this is what's funny, is because now he's getting these people that voted for him pissed off at him. And this is why they're doing everything they're doing to Trump. Keep in mind what Trump's going through, and maybe this might make some sense. So, but some of the groups behind the demonstrations receive financial backing from pushing hard. Okay. Yeah. All right. So donors include some of the biggest names in Democrat circles. Soros, go figure. The Rockefellers, go figure. Oh, and Illinois, the Pritzkers. This is according to Political Analyst. Two of their organizations supporting the protests at Columbia University and on other campuses are Jewish Voice for Peace and If Not Now. Whatever, I don't know what that is. Both are supported by the Tides Foundation, which is seeded by Democratic mega donor George Soros. So not only is George Soros funding the Jewish aspect of it, but he's also funding the pro-Palestinian aspect of it. Can't make this up. So George Soros and was previously supported by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Go figure. It in turn supports numerous small nonprofits that work for social change. Okay. So social change. It's a social revolution. It's cultural revolution going on right now. Okay. What I want you to do is when you get the chance, look up and see what happened in China with the Cultural Revolution back with Mao Zedong, what he did. They're literally taking the same page out of his book. Seriously, folks. So Soros declined to comment, of course, but a spokesman with the Open Society Foundation of which Soros is the founder and chairman, said in a statement that it has funded a broad spectrum of U.S. groups that have advocated for the rights of Palestinians and Israelis. and for peaceful resolution to the conflict in Israel. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which was previously funded by Tides Foundation and other groups, said it no longer has active grants to Tides. It also does not support Jewish Voice or Peace or It Now. Another notable Democrat donor has helped fund the protest movement is David Rockefeller Jr., who sits on the board of the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. It has given nearly $500,000 directly to Jewish Voice for Peace, which explicitly describes itself as anti-Zionist over the past 5 years. Rockefeller's Brothers has separately given grants to both the Tides Foundation and the Tides Center. So, yeah. Okay, let's keep going here. Several other groups involved in pro-Palestinian protests are backed by a foundation funded by Susan and Nick Pritzker, heir to the Hyatt Hotel empire. If you don't know who Susan and Nick Pritzker is, that is J.B. Pritzker's family for Illinois, which you know damn well J.B. Pritzker, that's his money as well. So it's, yeah. So, and supporters, they're also supporters of Biden and numerous Democratic campaigns, including $6,600 to Biden Victory Fund a few months ago and more than $300,000 during the 2020 campaign. The trail of donations shows a series of blurred lines when it comes to liberal causes and Democratic politics. The money is sometimes, but not always, directed towards specific issues. Even if it contributes to an organization's larger pool of funds, which could go toward opposing causes, which is exactly what's happening right here. They're literally going to both causes here. Often missions between the donors and nonprofits are aligned, but they also sometimes have different, and particularly when it comes to Gaza, conflicting agendas and tactics. And a small group of wealthy heavyweights are often playing an outsized role funding many of them. But as protester tactics have grown more intense, like taking over university buildings and shouting anti-Semitic remarks, the groups behind them are now attracting criticism from prominent donors on the left. Why is the Rockefeller Fund giving significant grants to Jewish Voice of Peace, which blamed the horrific October 7th attacks on Israel and the United States rather than Hamas? Said Alicia Weasel. Appropriate name. A Democratic donor who chairs the Eli Wiesel Foundation, an organization that supports anti-genocide work. Jewish Voice for Peace, which did not return requests for comment, has been a leader disruptive protests against Biden, including shouting genocide supporters. So, okay, now let's keep on going. Too complex. Okay, the complex funding system in the nonprofit space sometimes means that groups are funded by grants or even subgrants from a larger organization that isn't involved in granular day-to-day management of the activist groups' work. In the statement to Politico, the Rockefeller Brothers Fund noted it cannot support political activity or campaigns and is not involved in the personal political giving of trustees. Okay, so yeah, I'll share this link with you guys. So if you want, you can read the rest of the article. But I mean, you have big donors to, Biden's biggest donors donating to both sides of this protest. I mean, it's just messed up. So, all right, now let's move on. All right, so here's a tweet that Elon Musk, he shared on May 9th. It's from Stephen Miller, whatever you want to call. It says, House Dems just voted unanimously to give illegals representation in Congress and in the Electoral College. House seats and Electoral College votes will be added to areas with the most illegals, including all of Biden's illegals, unless Senate passes the bill, Invasion by Design. So Republicans, so all the Democrats unanimously voted to allow this, where all the Republicans voted against it. Now, Senator Mike Lee, alongside Rep. Chip Roy of Texas, introduced the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility, which is the SAVE Act. This crucial legislation seeks to ensure the U.S. citizenship or U.S. citizens participate in federal elections by requiring proof of citizenship for voter registration. Now, I mean, I always thought that you had to be a U.S. citizen to vote in federal elections anyways. But apparently things are changing and they don't like to teach these things in school anymore. So, all right, let's get into this a little bit more. The SAVE Act is co-sponsored by Senators Kevin Kramer, Ted Cruz, Tommy Tuberville, Roger Marshall, Ted Budd, John Kennedy, and Rick Scott. The SAVE Act amends the National Voter Registration Act, setting requirements for states to verify U.S. citizenship. It outlines acceptable documentation for proving citizenship and requires states to set up alternative verification processes for citizens without standard documents. Additionally, the legislation compels states to purge non-citizens from voter rolls and establishes federal penalties for intentional registering non-citizens. I don't know what the hell my problem is today, folks. I'm having a little tongue-tied moment here. All right, so illegal immigrants and non-U.S. citizens across the nation are being improperly registered to vote, allowing them to cast illegitimate ballots in federal election, said Senator Lee. At a time when trust in voting is more important than ever, we must stop foreign election interference and pass the SAVE Act. Voting is both a sacred right and responsibility of American citizenship, and allowing the people of other nations access to our elections is a grave blow to our security and self-governance. Proud to stand with Chip Roy to save our democratic process and representative government. Now, and I agree with this statement 100%, because it's literally when you allow illegals, or let's just say non-citizens, to vote in elections, these non-citizens that, the millions of illegals that crossed over under Biden's regime are loyal to Biden. Now, if you look back on how Rome fell, okay, it started with mass immigration. And the powers to be in Rome allowed this to happen. And then those immigrants became loyal to certain people. And that's exactly what the Biden administration is trying to do again. By allowing, I think it's some crazy number, like 11 million since Biden has taken office, 11 million illegals have crossed over the border. And out of those 11 million, they've been put in, a lot of them have gone to a lot of Democrat-run states, but they've also sent a bunch to those swing states to hopefully win those over in 2024. They're trying to stack the deck. They're not doing a very good job at it, hence why they're running kind of scared right now and doing what they're doing with Trump, but they're really trying to stack the deck. But, I mean, unless you're a U.S. citizen, you need to show proof that you are who you are when you go vote. And honestly, this whole mail-in voting, I think it should be abolished and wiped out. If you want to vote, get your ass up and go vote. Plain and simple. No more of this mail-in, unless you are a military member or, you're overseas because you're in the military. Those are the only people that should be allowed to do that. If you're able to get to a polling station, you need to go and you need to show ID. And I'm sorry, but illegals or immigrants, if they're not a U.S. citizen and have gone through the process to become a U.S. citizen, they don't have proper ID. They shouldn't have the right to vote in our federal elections. Plain and simple. Let me know what you think about that, because, I'm interested in see what you all got to hear, say about that. So secure elections are a key cornerstone for any representative government. Without them, we won't have a country, said Rep. Roy. Radical progressive Democrats know this and are using open border policies while also attacking election integrity laws to fundamentally remake America. That's 100% true. That's why he's proud to introduce the SAVE Act with Speaker Johnson and his Republican colleagues, along with along with invaluable support, citizens and organizations that recognize we must end the practice of non-citizens voting in our elections. Okay, Senator Kennedy, U.S. citizenship is sacred and foreign nationals shouldn't be able to vote in American elections. The SAVE Act would ensure that people who aren't even citizens don't cancel out Louisiana's and America's voices on the ballot box. So under Joe Biden's watch, over 11 million illegal aliens are now here on U.S. soil. That's enough to replace the entire population of Kansas almost 4 times over, according to Senator Marshall. Democrats' motivations behind welcoming the influx of migrants have been clear. They believe these are future Democrat voters. While requiring U.S. citizenship for federal elections has been a requirement, our legislation finally puts pen to paper on the exact document a person will need to prove they are, in fact, an American citizen and eligible voter. Proof of citizenship as a requirement to vote in our election should not be controversial. It is our responsibility to protect the integrity of our electoral process. By implementing rigorous checks for voter registration, this legislation would defend against improper voting and seek to restore confidence in the integrity of our federal election. Now, whether you're on the left, the right, the middle, whatever, you have to agree with this. Our elections need to be secure. Plain and simple. You need to show ID to vote. It is the law. But the Democrats are, and it's funny because the Democrats, they'll say that this is a racist, that this is not right, this is, whatever. They're gonna hit this one hard. And when the Democrats are hitting it hard to, essentially bring shame to something like this, and basically anybody that supports this is now, some anti-Semitic, hate-mongering, whatever they want to call you now. That's because they don't want, they want the illegals to vote because they want to remake everything. I mean, look at Illinois. I mean, in Illinois, they changed the boundaries of when you vote for your representation, your reps and all that stuff, to make it more easy for the Democrats to win and making it harder on Republicans. They're changing the boundaries of just about every state in order to be able to do this. There has to be some accountability here. We need to stop it. And I think this is a good way. I mean, I'm 100% behind this. And I definitely hope all the Republicans in the House and the Senate, and I'm hoping that some Democrats actually, decide to pull their head out of their ass. But we know that once this hits the Senate, it's going to probably end up dying there anyways. And if it doesn't die there, it's going to die on Joe Biden's desk. And that should tell you guys something right there. If this bill doesn't get 100% support from both the right, the left, and the president and the Senate, along with the House, then or at least you should know by then, that those that vote against this do not want a secure election. And they're dependent on those people coming over to vote for them. Plain and simple. So we're going to keep an eye on this one as this progresses, and hopefully it passes. But I'm going to say it's probably not going to pass, unfortunately. Which brings us to our last thing for the day. Okay. There's a list, and this was brought by AKA Face Hots, whatever, on Twitter. So Ukrainian official released how much of a kickback each politician is making. Whether this is true or not, damn well those billions of dollars that have been sent to Ukraine haven't gone to the war. I mean, I've said this before, just like I'll say it with Israel and, this Palestine stuff. Back when we had Desert Storm, the wars in the Middle East, you always had journalists on the ground reporting from those countries. With this Ukraine thing, they're not there. With this Israel and Palestine thing, they're not there. Okay? That should be the number one flag for most people to want to be like, what is really going on over there? The only things I've seen that's come out of Ukraine, like Kiev and all that stuff and surrounding area, is just fucking people out in the streets partying, having a good time. That's all I see. I haven't seen any coverage for an actual war that's happening over there, and if you do see some, now you got to ask yourself, is that AI generated? But I mean, literally, I haven't seen anything. I've watched Fox. I won't fucking put on CNN. I won't put on that garbage or MSNBC or anything like that. Even local news, nothing. It's like they're trying to tell you, oh, the war's still going on. We have to get more money, which Speaker Johnson, I'm not too happy that he caved to the Democrats to get more money to fucking Ukraine and, give money to all these other countries, but leave our borders wide open. That still baffles me a little bit. Yeah. But this is a list of how much money that has been supposedly given to politicians for giving billions of dollars to Ukraine, and in turn, making our inflation even higher, and we're paying more for everything. But let's go down the list here. Joe Biden apparently has gotten $92 million. Mitch McConnell, $89 million. Nancy Pelosi, $86 million. Now, I'm just going to give you the numbers, and it's all in millions, okay? Chuck Schumer, 66. Lindsey Graham, 82. Mitt Romney, 71. Good old Mitt. Adam Schiff, 62. Dan Kershaw, 20 million. Elizabeth Cheney, 77 million. Kevin McCarthy, 42 million. Jamie Raskin, 38 million. Mike Pence, 61 million. Greg Pence, 17 million. Rick Scott, 63 million. Hakeem Jeffries, 74 million. And of course, Ilhan Omar, 33 million. And socialist Elizabeth Warren, 42 million. Now, if this is true that these people got this fucking money from Ukraine, all these people are traitors to America, first and foremost, and they should be held accountable, and they should be tried in front of a tribunal and dealt with accordingly, in my opinion. But we know that's never going to happen because it's just not. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So that's what's happening right now. It's kind of crazy, but it is what it is. So I want you guys to think about this. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I'm going to definitely try my best to get out on this as much as possible. I'm trying to work my way away from the whole every episode being about politics. Work with me here, folks. I'm getting there. So until the next time, y'all be good to one another, and we'll talk soon.